Water lifts a quiet wall, drowning shrubs that rooted all summer. Dragonflies patrol the new mirror as channels kink and side pools blink alive. Mud turns to ledger, fresh tracks thread the banks. Reeds colonize slack water. Nothing about this looks accidental. Night work has traded tooth marks for hydrology, redrawing a stream with the confidence of a surveyor. The current hushes, the valley's pulse changes. This is the signature of ecosystem engineers, the kind that rewire rivers without a word. The surprise comes later, when the tenants arrive, and the logic of their timing makes earlier explanations feel unfinished. The blueprint is simple and relentless. Find a narrow run, slow it, raise a pond, and build a lodge with one underwater door. Cut saplings near shore and ferry them by raft or canal. Cache winter food below the ice line. Live as a family, an adult pair, yearlings and this year's kits, defending a reach of water long enough to feed and safe enough to sleep. Teeth do the heavy lifting. They never stop growing. The tail serves as rudder, tripod, and alarm. Work continues through frost and thaw. Structures evolve each season. Predators test the edges. Flood and drought rewrite constraints. Only after the pattern has settled does the architect step into the light. These are American beavers, Castor canadensis, mammals whose ordinary appetite for bark and twigs has made them synonymous with the title ecosystem engineers who rewire rivers. Here is the paradox, stated plainly. How can an herbivore that floods its own foraging grounds increase biodiversity and drought resilience for other species? The question matters because the water they impound can back over the very willows and cottonwoods they eat. Short-term food seems to vanish under the pond. Yet, downstream, riffles soften, side channels branch, and groundwater rises into parched banks. Studies indicate that impoundments trap sediment, widen the hyporheic zone, the mixing layer between stream and subsurface, and create nurseries for amphibians and insects. Birds hunt the air above the open water. Trout shelter in the deeper pools where temperature swings flatten. During dry spells, base flow sometimes persists where it would have dropped to a trickle. Measurements show slower peak floods, longer release tails, and patchy mosaics of wet meadow forming around former ponds. The builders forage mostly within 100 meters, 328 feet of water. Yet their ponds can expand access by floating wood to new edges. Territories often stretch half a mile to more than a mile along narrow creeks, stitched together by canals that look like minor scars from above and major transport lanes from within. What seems impossible to explain at first, that flooding feeds both the makers and their neighbors, demands mechanisms grounded in physics, plant biology, and time. One possibility is a successional engine with feedbacks. When water rises, many shrubs die back, but species like willow, aspen, and cottonwood resprout vigorously from submerged or cut stems. Coppicing keeps stands young, tender, and within reach. Over years, a cycle emerges. Flood, die back, resprout, graze. This looks less like loss and more like managed harvest, an adaptation that converts woody forest into renewable browse. The trade-off is spatial. Plants intolerant of saturation retreat. Upland specialists lose ground, while wetland assemblages gain. Scientists still debate which fish benefit most. Some salmonids use ponds as refuge. Others face warmer water and altered passage. A second hypothesis centers on hydrologic buffering. Dams slow water, boost infiltration, and charge shallow aquifers. That storage returns as seep and spring, propping up streams during late-season drought. The result is a kind of distributed reservoir that resists rapid loss. The signal can be untraceable in any single cross-section, but obvious across a valley. Greener fringes, cooler soil, and persistent trickles where flow had vanished by mid-summer. Trade-off supply. In extreme floods, structures fail and send pulses of sediment downstream. In low-gradient valleys, broad ponds can warm challenging cold water specialists. Third, there is facilitation that resembles symbiosis at the system scale. Amphibians, dragonflies, waterfowl, and muskrats exploit habitat features the builders maintain, but do not consume. In return, some of these residents trim vegetation, move nutrients, or even alert to danger. Indirect services that stabilize the constructed wetland. It is not tight textbook symbiosis, yet the net exchange is positive and persistent. Macroinvertebrate production increases in the slack water. Bats and birds answer that abundance. Evidence suggests the architecture multiplies niches more than it simplifies them, and that complexity absorbs shocks. The cost is uneven benefit. Not all neighbors win equally, and nobody knows why some sites become biodiversity hotspots while others stall. Threaded through all of this is behavioral adaptation. The dam is not a single decision, but a rolling set of adjustments, heaping more sticks after a night of wind, opening a spillway before heavy rain, abandoning a pond when trees thin, and building a new downstream. Colonies shift across a watershed in decades-long arcs, leaving steps in the valley that store water even after the lodges go quiet. Those abandoned basins fill with sedge, and then with willow again, a moving mosaic that keeps options open. Viewed across time, the phrase returns as a verdict rather than a label. Ecosystem engineers, how beavers rewire rivers, describes not only a species, but a process that outlasts individuals and, at times, human memory. What lingers is the quiet audacity of the design. An herbivore alters flow to secure food and safety, and the side effects stabilize a neighborhood that never asked for blueprints. The math is not clean, and scientists still debate the magnitudes, yet the direction feels steady. Architecture begets adaptation, and adaptation sustains architecture. In a century of hard dries and sudden floods, this living infrastructure might be rewriting what we thought we knew about resilience. The stream will drop again, as all streams do. When it does, who will remain? And how much of the valley's answer will come from teeth, mud, and a night shift no one sees?